I'm J-Neps MMA, and I'm recapping week 1 of Dana White's Contender Series. And to be honest with you, that was the most garbage Dana White Contender Series week I've ever seen. If it wasn't for Hamzat's boy, Bason Gore, Suzy Kayev, we would be, I don't know, this would have been the worst one. I would have been slumped out on the chair. But luckily, him and Ty Miller did do something. I don't know what to say, dude. This was just so bad. But I'm going to go through all the fights, talk about all the fighters, and at the end, did they really deserve the contract? Did they really deserve the contract? For sure, Susikayev, yeah. Miller, we going to talk about it. But let's get on to the first fight of the night. We have Yuri Panfiero versus Christopher Ehrwerts. Really sloppy middleweight fight, but it was way better than the other one we're gonna talk about, the featured bout. Yuri, he's been on the Contender Series before. He lost to, surprisingly, Torres Finney. Oh my gosh, I don't even know how he lost to Torres Finney, but we're not gonna talk about that. He went out there. He did have some good moments on the feet. So did Christopher Ehrwerts, but anytime Ehrwerts would kind of hit him with a really good shot, Yuri would shoot a takedown, or he would just shoot the takedown and he would be gassed. And in the third round, he was really gassed. I'm not gonna lie to you, but it was just a really sloppy middleweight fight, and I don't know, like none of them were gonna get a contract from this fight. It was really bad. It was a really bad fight to start off the Contender Series, but I can't even say it was a good one by Yuri. But we move on to the next fight. We have Radley De Silva versus George Mangos. George Mangos, he's really young. He actually was not bad. Like, he wasn't bad on the ground, but he was kind of rushing getting to the positions on the ground. And he was getting out physicality. He was getting out muscled by Radley De Silva. Let's be honest. Radley De Silva was out there out muscling George Mangos. But this fight was just bad because it was like you guys went straight to the ground. Yeah, you guys reversed positions a bunch of times, but it wasn't as exciting. George Mangos, he's young. He needs some time to develop. But Radley De Silva, like, that was his time to show, like, his striking, his capoeira, whatever he would be talking about. He sounded really disappointed in his performance, and it's like, brother, you didn't do anything out there showing your striking. You went out there and trying to out-grapple George Mangos, a young prospect. I mean, really young dude, I'm not going to lie to you. He probably needs a little bit more time before he can get back on the Contender Series. Radley De Silva ends up winning this fight. Wasn't exciting at all, and Dana White chewed this man up for it. He is Canadian, though, and if somebody falls off on that card, I think they would call up Radley De Silva to, step in on short notice. That's what it kind of seems like, but I wouldn't even want to see this guy step in on short notice. He didn't show anything to, for us UFC fans to be excited about, and nobody really cares about Canadian MMA like that anymore. But horrible fight, super boring grappling exchanges, weird grappling exchanges. But yeah, we move on to the next one. Star of the show, Bason Suzykayev versus Muratsa Tahal. I'm gonna butcher his name because I really don't care, because moment this fight starts, Tahal starts grappling with Suzykayev on the cage, and it's kind of like, brother, what are you doing? You're not in the UFC. You're not trying to get a win. You're trying to be exciting to get into the UFC. And he immediately shoots into the clinch, tries to get a takedown of Suzykayev. Luckily, Suzykayev, really good, really strong. All his wins are by finishes, and he breaks out of the clinch, and he's immediately starting to get that, his striking going. He throws a teep kick right to the body of Tahal, and Tahal immediately folds. Super easy win by Baysar Basangar Suzikaev. I'm gonna butcher his name, but we're gonna see this guy pretty soon. Dana White was like super happy with this guy. Um, it sounded like, well, Suzikaev did say that he wanted to fight immediately in the Chicago card. I don't think that's really gonna happen, but this man could be fighting in the next couple fight night cards. If anything, we're gonna see him pretty soon. We're gonna see him pretty soon. He took no damage at all, and all his wins are by finishes. So Dana White was happy because this guy just basically saved week 1 a little bit. But yeah, this is probably the only guy we had to be excited about. But let's move on to the next guy, who also got a contract, and Ty Miller. Ty Miller against Jimmy Drago. This was a pretty, I don't want to say fun fight, but if it wasn't for Jimmy Drago actually trying to make this a fight, Ty Miller would have not gotten a contract. But Ty Miller did go out there and show his striking. He has really good striking. He, hurt Drago with a jab a bunch of times. He has really good striking. It's just he doesn't have the physicality or the power to knock out anybody. He's only 6-0 right now, so he needs a lot of time. I thought Dana White wasn't gonna sign this guy, but since he did put up a good performance with Jimmy Drago, I guess he was gonna give him a contract. Ty Miller's really young. I almost said Jim Miller, but I guess Dana White just said, let me give this kid a contract. Work in the PI a bit, get your muscle up, and maybe in like 2 months from now, we'll see him make his UFC debut. Maybe a little bit longer. I don't think the UFC is gonna be rushing it with this guy. I'm really surprised he got a contract, but yeah, great win. It was a decently fun fight. Shout outs to Jimmy Drago for making it fun. But yeah, I see Jimmy Drago as a short notice replacement. Maybe, just maybe. A lot of guys didn't impress enough for them to be a short notice replacement. But final fight we're going to talk about was just the biggest disappointment I've ever seen. Lilian Buafaya, whatever his name is, versus Nasima Santana. It looked like from the first round that we were going to get some good action. But Buafania, whatever his name is, he threw a head kick, tripped, and Santana went on top. Santana illegally headbutts him, like blatantly just headbutts him for no reason whatsoever. That was not necessary. They take away a point. And literally, after that headbutt, it was probably the most boring fight I've ever seen. Like, worse than any fight you'll ever see on Tough. These guys literally just were looking at each other and did not throw a punch. And Santana was being annoying the whole time, saying to Buafania or whatever to let's throw down. And Santana wouldn't even throw a punch. It was so bad. Dana White was like, brother, like, this was so bad of a fight. Like, he basically said both of these guys got work to do. DC was kind of saying that Buafania does have potential. I think he does. I just think for week 1, there was a lot of guys that were just, 7-0, 6-0, a lot of guys that didn't have a lot of fights under their belt. And it really showed. But Buafania was just a humongous disappointment. I did not expect that from Buafania. That was just dog water. It was dog shit. It was one of the most dog shit cards on Dana White's Contender Series. But let's move on to who got a contract. But yeah, basically, we knew that our boy, he's our boy now. Our boy now for sure. Basangar Suzikaev was gonna get a contract regardless, bro. Like, Dana White smiled at this man, and you know when Dana White gives that man, he gives you a smile after finishing the Dana White Contender Series, and especially if you're Russian and your name ends with an EV, you're getting a contract. Especially when your training partner is Khamzat Chimaev, and you're fighting this weekend. Funny enough, Ilian Buafani or whatever said that Hamza Chimaev was also his training partner. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. You did not show any killer mentality, but whatever. What happens in the gym, in the training camp, stay over there, whatever. But based on Gar Suzikaev deserved that contract, obviously. I thought he was going to be the only one to get the contract. Let's talk about Ty Miller now. Ty Miller did put up a nice performance, but I think he's too young right now. I think maybe I would like to see him fight on the Contender Series another time, but I think the only reason why Dana White gave him a contract was because he did not want to end week 1 with only one guy having a contract. That would have been bad. But Ty Miller kind of reminds me of like I can't even say Chase Hooper, bro, because Chase Hooper was comparing him to Chase Hooper is just disrespectful to Chase Hooper. I'm so sorry. But I don't know, Ty Miller, he had really good striking out there, and I feel like, I don't know, if the UFC matches him up with somebody who's dog water in the striking, he has a chance at winning. But I don't see this guy fighting for like the next 3 months. I don't know what happened to his leg. It wasn't like Jimmy Drago was out here kicking him in the leg so much like that. But yeah, this was just a really bad week 1. Based on Gar Suzikaev, I can't wait to see his next fight. That's all I can say. Week 2 where you're at. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section. I'm GNAPS MMA. Like and subscribe, and I'm out.